Lee. 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 Lee!
What?
There's a pandemic going on in the world and we need you to make entertainment online now!
Okay.
Quickly!
Let's do this. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Wait right there.
Okay.
I'm ready. Hello and welcome to the second episode of Co-Video Breakdown. I'm your host Lee Christian and
I'm your other host, Grace Williams.
we've got a whole big show just like the last show. We can't seem to just stop getting all this great content from people, so we've got a bumper big show for you. In case you're new to the show, we have tons of really talented people doing great things from their homes for your entertainment and to inspire you to do some of your own bits and bobs. So what have we got coming up on the show, Grace?
So we have got music, we've got interviews, we've got singing lessons, we've got cooking, we have got mirth, merriment and happiness.
All of the above. And now here's a very special doctors and NHS themed Corona update. Great news! Doctors in Germany have found the cure. Robert Smith and co were self-isolating. Well, I say self-isolating, they were kind of just hanging around in the dark looking a bit miserable and not recording a new album.
And now to add to all their current stress and woe, the NHS staff have been given the clap by their neighbours.
The government have promised to prioritise testing for doctors. About time too, have you seen their handwriting?
Good news, your dog is immune to the virus, and your cat, and your hamster, and your goldfish. Oh, and killers from those horror movie franchises, those guys never die.
However, could someone please alert Snoop Dogg that he might not be included in this immunity? He's currently running around in the streets like it ain't no thang. I think he's been self-medicating, perhaps a bit too much.
Grizzle Fizzle says, stay in Dizzle and self-izzle to stop the spread of the co-vizzle.
And the makers of Casualty and Holby City have offered their support by listing all the ways, no matter how daft, that you can hurt yourself at home. If it hasn't happened in the first 10 minutes though, probably don't need to worry about it.
The BBC is getting so desperate for content that they're recalling all still living incarnations of Doctor Who for help. And now, here's Vincent Vega with some scratching to show us what's coming up on the show.
Thanks Vincent Vega, that was awesome. So, we always like to do a little bit of reading bits because, you know, reading's good for you, isn't it? So, I like to do the reading which comes with pictures, and so I've got some comics to show you. This is an awesome story called Powers of X and House of X, which has been running through the X-Men for the last little while. I think that's Degeneration X actually, but it is WrestleMania weekend, so I'll let that go.
Thanks.
So what we have is the awesome House and Powers of X. That's a little quick joined cover. I've got a bit of variant art. I'll show you the art whilst I tell you the thing. Basically, it's a resetting of all of the X-Men. There's so much X-Men stuff that's gone on through the years. and people find it very hard to keep up with what's going on in the X-Men. If you do, I think this is a good place to join. Basically, I don't want to give a lot away, but after many, many different attempts by all sorts of mutants to establish either peace or dominance with the human world, Professor X, in conjunction with Magneto and Moira McTaggart and most of the X-Men, start a new plan to have a new state and island on Krakoa, which is a mutant island which is alive, and they live on the island, and all of them, and they establish themselves as a new state, offering the humans various drugs and which come in the form of these plants, and to establish some kind of trade thing and their own laws, and to become recognized as their own country, essentially. It's hugely ambitious. It runs through two stories. One is essentially Xavier and Magneto establishing this island and everybody who's going to be involved and in what ways, and it's very, very surprising. Again, I don't want to give anything away, but you'll see pretty much everyone from the mutant universe pop up in it at one point or another, some in ways that you'd never imagine. So it's actually powers of 10, and it works through powers of 10 of years. So the first one is set where normally Charles Xavier would be forming his school for mutants, but instead embarks on this much more ambitious plan. Then 10 years later than that, where you see, you know, the effects of that and how all that's playing out. Then you have a whole 100 years after that, and you know, obviously the whole world is in a whole different state. And 1,000 years on, when you have mainly just technology versus mutant, and humans actually been totally eradicated, and they're kept as mainly kind of in a little petri dish type kind of little bubble for just looking at in a kind of nice history analytical kind of way. I don't know if I'm making this sound really daunting. It may be because it is. It's got charts, it's got a whole language and symbols, and it's got fact files on everybody and everything that's going on. Kind of like Watchmen, I guess, by Alan Moore, which has subsidiary bits of information. You don't have to read them, but they do bulk out the whole experience. It's really bold. It takes some really brave moves with the characters, and there's great art all the way through. And it's also, as I said, serves as a perfect entry point to the X-Men. And then X-Men 1 and several other titles, because there's always at least 5 X-Men titles at any time, are all running off of that point, the Dawn of X. And so, yeah, if you want to know what's going on with the X-Men and you want to read comics of the X-Men, that's your entry point. Hope you enjoy it. What have you got, Grace? You've been reading something?
Well, I'm still reading a book that I recommended on the last show, so I'm going to do a book recommendation this week. And generally, I'm going to recommend author and poet Charles Bukowski. Do you
like to sit on your porch and read Bukowski?
I do. I thought this was an author that everyone knew, but apparently I seem to be the only person who reads Charles Bukowski. Anyway, Charles Bukowski, he's like a really gritty writer, and a lot of his books are sort of told from he's the lead character, and a lot of the stories draw upon from his life living in LA. And this is semi-autobiographical. This is about Charles Bukowski's time when he worked in the postal service whilst trying to become a writer. And actually, Charles Bukowski didn't become an established writer, as in he didn't make money off of his work until very late into his life. He's an appalling person, don't get me wrong, but he's a brilliant writer, and he really encapsulates that sort of gritty, lower caste living of LA, and that sort of struggle for people to try and live the American dream. Actually, yeah, this is a brilliant book. If you want to read about the American dream, don't watch The Pursuit of Happiness with Spelt Wrong with Will Smith. Read Post Service. Read Post Office. I've got Postal Service on the brain at the moment because I keep wondering when the post office is closing.
And because you're kind of emo as well.
And because I'm kind of emo. So, yeah. But yeah, no, read Post Office. Let me know what you think. And I could do a review of every single one of his books because I've got them all. So do it.
Cool. Would you say you're attracted to despicable bar characters?
Yeah.
What's up next, Grace?
Rapping!
Awesome! Who's going to be doing the rapping for us?
Half decent.
Awesome! He came around just before Christmas. He did all my rapping for me, and it was all just done perfectly. So you're in safe hands now. Half Decent is one of my favourite artists in the UK, although I don't know if it's a fair description to say that now that we have the internet and everybody's listening from all sorts of places all over the world. So he's just an awesome producer, a great lyricist, and a really great rapper. And and
a good friend.
He's a decent dude as well. So yeah, you should check out all of his stuff on his website. He's made this little a cappella from his sofa specially for you. So enjoy.
Breaking news, death is less important than who's dating who. There's people on the streets dying slow, but no big issue. The news is just a program wanting stories to get rated views. We're paying dues to make it through, but can't afford to face the blues. Brenda's had her baby and she can't afford the baby food. So to make ends meet, she's on the street, selling her body to dangerous fools. Fish-netted legs for the eyes that she caters to. They're riding her as dirty as the sky that she's praying to. United Kingdom the beautiful, the land of art and musicals, corruptions and pharmaceuticals. Talent shows are delusional to the trouble we manoeuvre through. But don't ask questions, hand them the money, you good consumer, you. I see dead people walk about, hollow bodies chalked out, soul declined outlines, your life is what you talk about. You are what you post online, no longer judged by what's inside, it's how you brag about it and what filter best brings out our eyes. It's a world of possibilities while we live with our abilities, suffer with agility so we can drown in our iniquities. Everyday soldiers are gone, but now we need them, only keyboard warriors left, man. I don't believe them. We ignore all the poor because we don't know them by name. Just another castaway on a wave, acting deranged. It's a sickness, there's no difference, misunderstanding explained. No one I love, shaking a cup whilst they're asking for change. But this isn't thug rap, we don't need to hear that. This is everyday people, gotta get the bus rap. Bottom of the barrel, hungry, unwilling to eat scraps. Hardcore like Terry Funk, falling onto thumbtacks. This life can sometimes be an intricate tale. Warriors inflicted, but born as an innocent male. We're experienced enough to know these prescriptions will fail against the natural antidepressants on a digital scale. Workers fight for rights in life while giving threats for strikes. They're claiming activism whilst wearing sweatshop nights. iPhone grasped in our palm. How many kids took their life? Another mass shooting. How can we even let that slide? Nothing will improve in my lifetime. I know that. But will your son read your timeline and know dad? Or resort to knife crime because he doesn't know where home's at? I don't know. It's up to you. You're the one who controls that.
Ooh. I don't know about you, but after all that wordplay, I'm a little bungers. That means hungry.
I think I'm in the mood for some excellent content, aren't you?
Oh, no yoking matter.
I'm very excited about it.
You're going to use the same pun over and over again because I was going to say my brain scrambled after that.
Talking of scrambled, here's Ben Phillips with how to make the perfect scrambled eggs.
You poached that intro.
Okay, so this morning we're going to make the best scrambled eggs. Obviously at the moment eggs are pretty difficult to come by, so if you do manage to get hold of some, it's important that we do them justice. There are some key rules for when we're making the scrambled eggs, and the most important thing for me is what we cook them in, and that should be one thing only, and that's some butter. Don't put milk in your scrambled eggs. Okay? So, we're going to start just by giving them a whisk up, okay? Only about 30 seconds, light whisking. We don't want to overbeat them before they go in the pan. So we're just going to whisk them up lightly. Okay, so there we go. Whisk our eggs up. 5 eggs for 2 people, I reckon. 2.5 eggs each when we're doing scrambled eggs. Okay, now, the next really important thing is no seasoning. We don't put any seasoning in until after we've cooked the eggs, because the salt can cause them to toughen and we don't want that. So, the other key thing is time. So, we have to cook scrambled eggs low and slow. Okay, we don't want to put them in a raging hot pan because they'll just cook too quickly. We want them to be soft and silky. So, just throwing in 3 knobs of butter, and we're just going to let that melt. Don't want to get any colour on it, we just want it to coat the bottom of the pan. You can see I've got it on the medium ring here because we don't want them to cook too quickly. So I'm going to turn that all the way down to the lowest setting. So we're going to cook it over a nice gentle heat. Okay, so in with the eggs. And you shouldn't be able to hear any sizzling or anything at this point because we just want to cook this very slowly. Okay? Should take a good 7 minutes or so. Alright. We don't want to move it around too much because we want nice big silky curds of egg. Okay, so you're in control of the heat here. I'm just going to turn this up a little bit and I'm just going to move it round the pan and just pushing it with the spoon very gently. Okay, and timing's important here. So these will probably be done in another 3 or 4 minutes. So we need to be thinking about what we're serving it with. I'm just going to do it today very simply on some hot buttered toast, and all we can get at the moment is cheap white bread, which to be honest is the best thing to have scrambled eggs on anyway. So if you have a look now, you can see just in that time I've gone over, even though we're on a very low heat, the eggs are starting to come together. But they still look beautiful and silky. So it's about getting that balance between them still being nice and soft, but we don't want snotty bits of egg in there, so we need to make sure that we're just managing them very carefully. And just at the point here where you can't really see any uncooked white anymore, that's when we're going to control it. We're going to take it off the heat, turn the heat off, and this is the really important bit right at the end here, is that you're going to put in some extra butter. Okay, some room temperature butter, and what that does is that stops the eggs from cooking, turns the heat down in the pan, but adds that last little layer of velvetiness. Ooh. You can see, got lovely silky eggs in the pan here. The smell of butter is amazing, and it's at this point I'm just going to chuck in a pinch of salt. If you're using molten salt, scrunch it through your hands so you don't get big crystals in there. Okay, and very simply just got some chopped chives from the herb garden outside. Just going to sprinkle those on top. So toast should be ready. I par toasted it before I put them in. So before I put the eggs in, I did the toast for a little bit and now I've just finished it off. A little bit of butter on the toast. Eggs are off the heat now, and the butter will be helping them rest. Don't worry about the amount of butter you're using. We're on lockdown, we're going to have our special treats. And we're ready to serve our eggs up. If you look, they're really perfect. Nice and silky, they're not rubbery at all. My wife's filming this, so I better not shortchange her. There we go. Perfect scrambled egg.
I am the Eggman.
Now I need to work this off somehow, but I don't really, I'd like to, if possible, just do it from my bed. Do you think that's possible?
Namaste, Lee. We have Elise Tassell here to show you how to do some body opening moves from the comfort of your own sleepy time.
Hi, my name's Elise. This is my cat, Pagan, who's assisting me today. I'm a teacher of yoga, dance and other kind of types of embodiment. So I'm coming on today to teach you one of my favourite yin yoga poses. So what you'll need for this is either, if you've got yoga blocks, 2 yoga blocks. If you've got 2 cushions, cushions are great. As you can see, I've got a yoga bolster here. This isn't necessary if you don't have one. You can just as easily use a normal kind of pillow from your bed. So I'm going to be teaching you reclined butterfly pose. And to do that, you want to place your bolster or your largest cushion behind your lower back. So you can set yourself up on your bed in the same way that I have. Doing yin yoga in bed is one of my luxuries. And one of the nice things about being on lockdown is that you get to practice from your bedroom. So legs in a kind of butterfly position, so it doesn't matter too much about how close your heels are to your groin. You can kind of shuffle them out a little bit more, bring them closer depending on what feels comfortable for you. So these extra props are to go underneath your knees to support the knees. And then you're going to lay back down over the cushion or the bolster behind you. So if you feel like you need a bit of extra support for your head, you might want to take an extra cushion and pop that behind your head. And there are a few extra options here for your arms. So you might want to bring your hands somewhere on your body if you find that comforting. You might want to reach your arms out wide so you can open up more across the front of your chest. And you could also take opposite hand to opposite elbow and let your hands and arms rest up in this kind of box shape up and over your head. So if for you this feels too strong on the inner thighs or on the hips, you can always lengthen the legs out away from you. You could even let the knees knock together. So when you're in a yin pose, the idea is that you want as little muscle engagement as possible. So muscles to be really soft and relaxed, and to see if you can let your body soften into the pose. So the idea behind yin poses is that we start to work into the connective tissue or open into the connective tissue. So we're talking about the fascia, the tissue that surrounds the muscles, the muscle fibers, and connects the muscles to the bones. And it can take a little bit of time to get into those tissues. So if you're coming into this pose, you probably want to stay here for about 5 minutes. You could stay longer if you wanted to. You've got the opportunity here to just pay some attention to your breath, or just notice how your body feels in that position. Notice any sensation that arises. And one of the reasons that I like this pose in particular is because it feels like the perfect antidote to what a lot of us do in our lives every day. So for me, I spend a lot of time riding a bike, sitting at a desk, working on a laptop, which involves all this kind of upper part of my body moving forwards. So this is the opposite of that. It's an opening across the front of the chest.
This is my vocation. This is what I was born to do. This is my calling and my destiny. It's not a choice. It's more like my duty. I got something for you. Duty to have. See, I got something for you. I can't do nothing else with this. I was put on earth to do this. I got something for you. Well, no matter what the outcome is, well, I'm locked deep in this. I got something good for you.
Welcome back to Mexico Video Breakdown. I'm Richard Whiteley.
And I'm Carol Vorderman.
Thanks so much for that, Elise. That's awesome. I hope all of you at home are trying that out. It's a bit, obviously we can't lie back, otherwise you wouldn't see us. It'd just be like, ah!
And there'd be an avalanche of cuddly toys.
As it is, all my comics are now falling over anyway. So, what is next?
What is next? Do you want some more rapping?
Go on then.
Alright, well we've got international superstar MC Lars.
No way!
Yes way!
What? Well, I shouldn't act so surprised. Well, I interviewed him actually.
No. I think he interviewed you.
I guess that's true. Watch MC Lars turn the tables on me after a little bit of footage so you can see what he do. What he do? So you can see what he do.
What he do.
That's fine. That's what he do. Check out MC Lars doing what he do. Get crunk, yo!
Projection. Freeze about my gun. Rap about my loot. Freeze about these haters. I sometimes have to shoot. Rap about my clothes. Rise of my hometown. Never sense of nothing cause it's how we get down. Freeze about my clique. What? Those until we pump. Rock with your intense rhyme. About keeping it crump. Big up to our genre. We do it our own way. It's just too bad our songs don't have anything to say. Generic crop rap. Generic crop rap. Generic crop rap. We don't mess around. Generic crop rap. Generic crop rap. Generic crop rap. Help me out. Here we go. Buy a car. Take shots. Have sex. Spend money. Buy a car. Take shots. Have sex. Spend money. Race about my car. Rap about my crew. Rap about how much more crunk I am than you. Rap about my rims. Rap about my bling. Chorus with my scream cause I don't know how to sing. Rhymes supporting guns. And also drinking 40s. Misogynist. Rap about big and lots of shorties. Oh, rap about my go. And then some native lyrics. Get out the guys, that's where I come to do. Just a parent. Generic crunk rap. Generic crunk rap. Generic crunk rap. We don't mess around. Generic crunk rap. Generic crunk rap. Oscar, help me out. You think our dirty sound. Buy clothes. Hennessy. Escalades. Spend money. Buy cars. Take shots. Have sex. Spend money. Grandmaster Flash. I'm sorry, but we're killing hip hop. KRS. Run DMC. But we'll get argued with the charts when we're sitting at the top. Rock Kim. Chuck D. De La Soul. And we're making hella skrill. And we're not about to stop. Primark. McDonald's. Sainsbury's. Stonehenge. The Bodley Inn. The Pit Rivers. The Market Street. This place. The former Zodiac. The Cellar. The Purple Turtle. South Park. All these places. T.S. Lewis. Who the fuck is T.S. Lewis? J.R.R. Tolkien.
To quickly, let's just do a little quick chat about, I just wanted to talk to you about, because obviously part of the show is focused on people doing stuff and with their minimum kind of whatever they've got to hand and everything. And I think you're like the perfect example of a pioneer of obviously the laptop rap thing, but also just in general as a person who makes the most out of whatever you've got to work with. And you've throughout your career just kind of taken something small, built on that, done something with that, taken that to another level, and then taken that to another level, and just always been kept your, I guess, your brain open to new ideas and your heart open to new collaborations, but also just kept some kind of fire in you that whatever the means that you have, you somehow managed to get the best out of. So I wanted to talk to you a little about that. I don't really know how to structure it so much as asking you, how do you, like, it's what, how long have you been in this rap game now?
My first show was 20 years ago on March 11th. So 20 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that first rap show as well. That's not even including, because obviously you came from a DIY punk scene before that, so I presume a lot of your ethics kind of came from that kind of process.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying everything you said. By the way, Lee, thank you. That's nice.
All right. It's totally from the heart.
I appreciate it. I used to play in punk bands and book like local rec centers and community centers, and then I started doing the MC Lars thing, or I call it Lars Horace, as a way to open for these other bands.
Right.
And that kind of took life of its own.
Right.
I think the thing I realize is that no one really cares, and no one should care about your art. So if they come to see you, it's a blessing, and you should make everyone feel at home and comfortable, and they're your friends. There's a barrier between the stage and the audience that needs to go away. And so I think that taught me to be humble. If you have 5 people to come see you, good work. That's a huge achievement.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you actually did it. That's something you did. Yeah.
Yeah, and they actually came, and even if they're your friends or they're just giving you a favor, maybe more people will find out. I think the Oxford scene was interesting because in 2003, when I was studying there, the scene was so like appreciative of the energy I brought, but also like everyone was so nice, and I felt so included, and I'll never forget like that, and especially the Truck Records guys. Like that was a moment that couldn't be repeated, and it's definitely, the world has changed, but when rap was still new. I also think being a rapper like me was different. Like 20 years ago, it was kind of uncommon, the
Sure,
nerdy
absolutely,
rapper,
yeah, absolutely.
So all those things, I think, I'm just grateful, and I still can't believe I get to do it.
But I mean, like literally, you have made like a whole life out of turning up with your laptop and rocking a gig. And
Right.
that's, do you know what I mean? And doing it as good as any gig that anyone can go to in terms of entertainment value, and the quality of the music and the quality of your show and everything. Like everybody who's been to a Lars show knows that it's 100%. Do you know what I mean? So
Thank you.
I think. No, but it sounds like I'm kind of kissing your butt or whatever, but it's absolutely true, and I think that plays a massive part when you say about Oxford. I think Oxford, if it does do one thing pretty well, it notices when something's going on. When there's something going on with an artist, it's pretty good. I mean, Smilex, I also wanted to destroy that barrier. I just wanted to literally destroy the barrier, like so.
Right.
So I was like, it was with destruction that I did it, if you know what I mean. And I'd go out into the audience and make them feel something. Maybe that was fear, maybe that was apprehension, maybe that was disgust or revolt. Do you know what I mean? But it was like you kind of almost reached out and gave them a nice massage, whereas I was kind of like literally spitting in their faces. But it was in a similar way to break down that barrier between the stage. That's why I'd get off of it. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah. I have a lot of stories of you being in the crowd, climbing on the crowd, like relentless.
My knees have many memories of it now. Like, and my
That's
back,
awesome.
my back and my knees both remember it very clearly. Yeah. So, but yeah. But I think and Oxford was pretty quick to kind of go, oh, there's something going on here with us as well. So I think that you brought that kind of a show does also mean that you could say it about youth movie soundtrack strategies as well, who came from High Wycombe, and suddenly everybody went, oh, this is a bit good, isn't it? And Lapsus Linguae came down from Glasgow, and everybody's like, this is amazing. We come back down again as soon as you can, kind of thing. And so we're quite Oxford is quite good at seeing that kind of. They know when someone's giving them a good show, luckily. So, or at least for that period, certainly that was a lot of the strength of it. Plus, it's such a connected scene. It's got a great infrastructure between press, radio, all these kind of things. It's like its own country unto itself in that sense. Do you know what I mean? I feel like LA must be pretty similar or something. Like if you're in LA, you know everything in LA because you listen to LA radio and you see these LA people around and everything. I feel like that must be like what Oxford's like, just a bit posher.
And more concentrated. I think that I've never been in a place that felt like such a scene, and these friendships that I maintained from that.
Yeah,
it's interesting. Yeah,
Seattle. Well, I wonder if Seattle was like that actually. When I think about it, and also rainy as well. So.
Yeah, that's true. When I go back to Oxford, though, it's different. I can't really sell tickets there. Like the last show we were going to play a few years ago, 5 people bought tickets, so the promoter canceled it. Whereas we're selling 200 tickets in London and like.
Yeah.
It's weird, man. It's like that people have graduated and left, and it's maybe it's too close to London, or I don't know, but it's weird. That was weird. I was like, oh, so this was
Yeah,
like
that's.
everyone's grown up and left.
I mean, being honest, the Oxford music scene has really, really diminished. Well, I mean, I'm not there, so I don't want to speak out of turn. But my reading of it from a distance is obviously we've lost the cellar, which was huge.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so that
Yeah.
really, yeah. I mean, you know, I one of my very first shows was at the Corn Dolly before it was the cellar. So, you know, like, yeah, way back in my funk band when I was a teenager. So
just not enough people were paying to go.
there was some kind of rule breaking that had been going on health and safety wise for a while, and they needed a lot of money to sort it out. And then when they finally did get the money, I don't know, something died along the way. I can't honestly say because I wasn't close enough to the whole situation. I did a lot of as much helping with the fundraising and getting news out there, and I was in touch with Tim a bit, but you know, it's not my I wouldn't like to judge anything of someone who like ran a venue for that long. I've done a bit of promoting in my time, and it's a long haul, and I'm really glad I don't do it anymore. Do you know what I mean? So I'm sure you probably feel the same about like, you know, like your punk days or whatever. Do you know what I mean? It's a long slog and a hard haul. And there's always problems, and it's always changing, and you're always fighting the council in Oxford, you know, all the noise stuff always. Do you know what I mean? It's always that noise, that noise, that noise. That noise becomes your culture. Do you know what I mean? So when it hits the mainstream, that becomes that same thing that you're paying hand over fist to go and see in an Enormodome in your herds. Do you know what I mean? So I think, you know, I remember back when Radiohead did their South Park gig, there was a huge uproar from all the people around. Are you kidding me? It should be celebrated. There should be a procession through the street. Do you know what I mean? Radiohead went out and conquered America.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
World, conquered the world, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it really happens when you conquer America, isn't it?
Right.
But that's the hard bit for British bands. I mean, the Prodigy almost managed it, but I don't know if America's fully ever got electronica. Do you know what I mean? So or certainly dance music, you know.
Well, until 2011, when dubstep became the defining pop.
Yeah, it's strange though, because American dubstep's not like English dubstep anyway, is it?
True.
It's like
Very true.
English dance music always has this, and I'm not saying this in any offensive way to American, because obviously I'm a huge fan of so many American forms of music that it's not even worth talking about. But I do feel like on the dance scene, I feel like England has a little bit of an edge that somehow most Americans just don't somehow get, like Goldie, and you know, like you know, that kind of underground. You know, you could like how tricky is what Muggs is to. Do you know what I mean? You don't really have a Goldie by comparison. Do you know what I mean? And that kind of, does that make sense? Like
you mean an electronic producer who's also a rapper?
No, who's got that? No, an electronic beat maker who makes the underground sound of the streets and somehow manages to convert that into something that becomes the cultural touchstone. Do you know what I mean?
Music.
What, sorry?
You mean for electronic music specifically?
Yes, particularly through what I guess Americans now call EDM or whatever. I just don't think... I don't know if it's got the dirt and the grit, which is hilarious because obviously in hip-hop, England's forever kind of trying to capture the grit of, say, your Wu-Tang or Muggs or do you know what I mean? But in dance music, I always feel like beyond the very first, you know, Detroit house kind of stuff from your Larry Levans and things like that, I feel like beyond those influences, I feel like the ball kind of almost got passed over entirely to the UK, and it's always been like a bit edgier. Even like your mainstream acts will grab British producers. Say Madonna, for example, grabbed William Orbit, and then is Jacques Leconte as well, and from Le Rhythm Digital and stuff like that. So I don't know if he is English though, so I might be speaking out of turn, but William Orbit for sure. Do you know what I mean? I think there's something in dance music there's just an edge that's in the English stuff because it's really grassroots.
I would say, yeah, you're right, Lee. And I would say something I've noticed, especially from when I was living there, was how hip hop and EDM were so connected, like with the early Streets and Dizzy Rascal, and like, oh, hip hop is more of a subgenre, like garage or whatever is a subgenre of electronic music, more than in America, because it kind of differentiated itself when Dre left the World Class Wrecking Crew, and like disco was the birthplace for Sugar Hill Gang,
but we had to move away from the dance, to get slower and grimier, essentially,
and more James Brown and less Kraftwerk, right?
Yeah, more P-Funk, more George Clinton, less the Africa Bambaataa way of doing things or whatever. Yeah.
And I feel like that was Stetsasonic and Planet Rock were some of the biggest rap hits in the UK, alongside like Fat Boys and Run DMC. But like, and that kind of resonated because you're right, the grassroots, all night parties, warehouse thing, and I think that
turned into a lot of in England. That turned into people like S Express, Bomb the Bass, and I guess even early Prodigy, like taking guys with samplers, but they were making dance music for field parties and for underground club parties and stuff like that. So it's also what they're making it for. Is kind of like the early origins of hip hop are all in the dancing and the kind of block parties, and then suddenly it becomes about something to put on in your car whilst you roll down the street really slowly. Do you know what I mean? And like the LA vibe, for example, is like, you know, it's a totally different thing to the New York vibe. It's all about that it's about that expansiveness, the way they have long streets and you know, like long roads and, you know, and like big long cars, and do you know what I mean? It's all
cars. New York people don't really drive, so and that's
the Wu-Tang, isn't it?
All
that clatter. Do you know what I mean? And DMX, all that raucousness and the grime and the noise, the streets, the sounds, the turn. Do you know what I mean?
The closest thing, talking about electronic producers to like enter the mainstream in the past 20 years, if ever, the biggest thing here was Moby, who's kind of like not as popular, but that was.
He's whilst he has his origins in that club kind of thing, by the time he broke big there, it's kind of him doing coffee table music, really, isn't it? It's him melding soft electronica, trip hop and such, with old samples from like blues and old gospel things and stuff like that. So it's a real kind of, it's a conversation piece for the coffee table, for adults to kind of appreciate, if you know what I mean, rather than, it's not for the people who are kind of like, when he was doing Go back in the old days, it was so that, you know, kids would go like that in a club. Do you know what I mean? So it's what you're making the music for that changes the whole way it's presented, I guess, as well, you know.
Kind of goes back to what we were talking about, the dichotomy of audience with like Batman, right? It's like, who do you make it for? And what does the mainstream want? It becomes a forever loop. And I always think England has been kind of ahead of the curve with culture and music, and that's why I feel so blessed to be able
sometimes. Sometimes.
Sometimes. England behind the curve, you think? Do you think they've recycled?
Right now I feel like we're in perhaps an even bigger doldrums than America, because there's not as much land mass. So over your land mass, you have so many more people listening to such a broader range of stuff, and each of those things can get a larger fan base. Whereas everything in here has been provincialized to like a load of people listening to commercial mainstream music, and then a load of bands playing in pubs to nobody. Do you know what I mean? And so I think that polarization is heavier because, or deeper and more impactful, because there's not as many people just in general to buy, to essentially to buy your stuff, really. Because really it comes down to someone buying something at some point.
Or streaming it enough to make you money.
Yeah, but that's too many times. So if I make a song, I have to stream it 250 times to make 1 penny.
Right.
That's a lot. That's a lot.
But I would argue though, Lee, also that like in America, because there's so much space that it's the same thing. You have super mainstream stuff, even at the theater level, and then you have tiny bands who play to their 10 friends. And I think England has a stronger culture of going out to the pub, going to shows than the US. I guess the grass is always...
They definitely have a going out to the pub down.
Yeah.
I'm not sure whether in recent times people's expectations of music has allowed for, they'll be fine with just some dude playing some acoustic covers in the corner. Do you know what I mean? Whereas I don't think there's a what I feel about this century as opposed to the last century is in the last century is all about what can you show me that's new? What can you show me that's innovative, that takes me somewhere, show me something I don't already know? And this century has been all about give me something that I feel comfortable with. Give me something that I feel secure with. And that's the polar opposite mentality. So the more you're trying to do something new or different, etc., the less people are receptive to it because they want safety in their investment. Whether their investment's time, energy, money, whatever it is, they want more security that it's a sure bet. They have less time, they have less money, they want to make sure it's definitely it's going to be good for them. That's why they'll read 15 billion reviews of a movie before going to see it, because they want to know it's worth it. They don't even care if they know half the movie, as long as they were sure it was a good experience.
Would you say that's British people, or that's just people?
No, that's the world, or the Western world as it's developed now, I think.
Well, and also going back to we're talking about comic book movies, as choices have become expanded, you want something familiar. You want the brand, the story you're connected to. You want the cover bands.
The interesting thing is we've become so individually catered to now because everybody's this little avatar who says, I'm this, I'm this, I'm this, I like this and this and this. And computers go, really? I'll send you more of that. And basically, so we end up in this little kind of
bias, right? Like on Facebook, if you have a certain bias.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So we've become quite blinkered. And so we're exposed to a lot less stuff randomly than we used to be. And I used to find the weirdest of films randomly, and I used to find the weirdest of bands through random ways. You know, now you're kind of catered to for more of what you need, more of what you've already say you like. But then we all know that what you're into when you're 13 isn't what you're into when you're 17, and likewise, what you're into when you're 17 isn't necessarily what you're into when you're 21. Some of these things might stay the same, but you're constantly evolving. The problem is people are now setting themselves in a slipstream for development. So we're not kind of broadening out and going, oh, actually, you know what? There's that over there and there's that over there. Like in the 90s, if you were into Nirvana, somehow you magically ended up hearing some Björk, or you ended up hearing some Public Enemy. And it's like, how did that happen? Those things aren't automatically what you'd put together, but it happened because shows were a bit broader and diverse. And the more the idea was, is this alternative, not is this sound.
I would say those examples are the monoculture of MTV. I mean, in America, that's why all people would like those bands, because MTV played them. That's really the main reason.
The magazines would cover a broader range of music. It isn't also catered. It's not, here's a playlist. Nowadays, for example, when I was young in bands, you would go to a gig and there'd be 4 different bands on a bill, and they'd all be pretty different, and the gig would be and it'd be packed. The gig would be, not every band would have everybody watching them, but the gig would do well. Everybody would get paid. Everybody saw some stuff that they liked, and everybody had some stuff to complain about if they didn't. Do you know what I mean? And everybody was happy. Then it broke off into subgenres, and you had 20 people at the Doom gig, 20 people at the punk gig, 20 people at the classic rock gig. Do you know what I mean? And all you've got is a failing scene.
And I think that unification is what allowed me to get my start in. But I think on a positive note, I think a lot of what young people are doing with YouTube and Spotify, even though it's not mainstream selling arenas, there are artists who are making a living who are doing really cool stuff. And I think that's positive.
I have great hope. And I'll take it one further. For the last at least about a year, maybe coming up to, I've been predicting that the next cultural revolution will happen in around about 2022, because if you look at the Beatles in '62, and that started a wave of counterculture that dominated stuff for the next 7-ish years, I would say. And then in '92, 30 years later, after the 80s, which was obviously the 60s happened after the 50s, after the 80s, which was a very similar thing to the 50s, we had the 90s, which 92 you had Nirvana knocking Michael Jackson off #1 and therefore setting a whole new cultural precedent. And that culture lasted, again, about 7 years or so until we got into a retroactive making all the charts of all what was the best of the century. We started looking back a lot and people started realizing there was a lot of love for all that stuff. So they can make a lot of money out of reproducing all that stuff all over again. And that's what our culture has been. If you look at like the big blockbuster movie now, it's in a very similar state to what it was when we'd had about enough of Sylvester Stallone, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Jean-Claude Van Damme, Steven Seagal, Dolph Lundgren, absolutely all of them repeating the same movie over and like Predator, love it. But Eraser, not so much. Do you know what I mean? So we're getting into, and then suddenly you had Tarantino. Action heroes were like character actors, skinny, geeky-looking dudes with ultra violence, and do you know what I mean? And witty banter. Do you know what I mean? And so I think cultural change. Tim Burton taking it in this weird gothic-y, arty, dark S&M direction. Do you know what I mean? So you know, you've got like and then musically, obviously, you've got all the grunge thing happening. You've got gangster rap, and you know, which is totally street reportage and everything. Do you know what I mean? And then you've got even in England, you've got all the indie bands coming up out of the toilet scene. Do you know what I mean? And suddenly they're the pop stars. You know, your Blur, Elastica, Pulp, you know, and then Oasis, I guess.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? Lee. So culturally, I think we're gearing round to it all over again, and the kids are going to be jaded, and they're going to want something that they can. People are going to want to hear mistakes quite soon. You know, there's just no. You can't hear a crack in someone's voice anymore.
Right.
People want to know that they did it.
I was going to say, as a way to sum all this up, if only there were a global pandemic that could keep us inside, that would somehow spur this revolution 2 years before it happens. That'd be awesome.
It would be good, wouldn't it? Culturally, there's. I mean, the thing is, if we can just stop fighting each other for toilet rolls, then we might have a future. Do you know what I mean?
I always appreciate you and your honesty and your heart and your passion for music, and I want to thank you for inviting me on, man. I always love getting to talk.
So, yeah, cool. Is there anything you're getting on with that you want everybody to know about?
I am on Patreon, and I'm doing every month 2 songs. I do 2 songs, and I'm doing all the Marvel movies in the order that they take place chronologically. So I just did my 2
How
Guardians.
did I not hear about this? I'm literally going to go and listen to this immediately after I hang up this.
That's
awesome. What are you on so far?
I'm on Guardians Galaxy Volume 2. I'm releasing.
Oh, a lot. You've gone quite a lot. That's quite far in.
It's pretty far, and I'll be done like in September. And then I do a weekly podcast, and I do a YouTube show where I review each and talk about the history of each of Insane Clown Posse's like.
Oh yeah. No, I've been watching that very keenly. I like a bit of Insane Clown Posse. Do you know the song Cotton Candy? That's my favorite. Yeah. I love that. I can rap half the verses to that. I love that.
We did the Gathering of the Juggalos 2 years ago, and it was
amazing.
Yeah, it was
amazing. Wicked. Yeah. Oh well. Yeah. Everybody go to mclars.com.
Yes, sir. It's all there.
Yeah, so I was going to say, with regards to this Marvel one though, so what if Black Widow comes out before?
Yeah.
Are you going to have to do that as well?
In May. I mean, Black Widow takes place like what? After Captain Marvel, before Iron Man, right?
Right. Yeah. So you
kind of got to do it anyway. Yeah. Because I can't. Yeah, I've already. But that's a good question. I mean, my thought was, do I do my song about it when the movie comes out, or do I wait to the end? I think I'll wait to the end and then do it after final one. But yeah,
in chronological order, I guess it has to be, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. As opposed to canon, as opposed to fictional timeline or whatever. Yeah.
Right. You're a good interview, Lee.
Thanks. I feel like I talk too much.
No, you're good. I asked you a lot of questions. That's why.
Good. Yeah. Well, that's all right. As long as you felt like you enjoyed it, that's the main thing.
Wow, Lee, you're so interesting. What a life you've had.
Yeah. I mean, I should explain. Me and MC Lars have known each other quite a long time, so it turned into a weird catch-up session. You can catch the full interview on YouTube in a few days, as soon as all of you stop using the internet, so that we can actually upload this stuff.
Yeah, boo you. Go and make a den. That's what my mum used to say. Get offline, make a den.
Yeah, like she's watched too many episodes of EastEnders there.
Yeah.
She means a dirty den. So what's up next, Grace?
We've got Emma Black from Purple Rain, the Prince tribute act and solo artist in her own right, giving you a vocal lesson.
La 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 la. Lovely day, lovely day, lovely day, lovely day, lovely day, lovely day, lovely Emma Black.
Hi everyone, it's Emma. I hope you're all well. I hope you're all safe and staying positive. I've got a lot of time on my hands, so I thought I would share some little vocal tips and tricks and exercises and things that have worked for me over the years. So hopefully you'll find stuff like this useful or know somebody that will. So we're going to do a simple vocal exercise. We're going to do it on a scale, working our way up the scale and then back down it. We're also going to incorporate, it's called glottal onset, which sounds really technical, but we're going to close our vocal cords and we're going to use our air through our diaphragm to burst them open. I find practicing stuff like that really helps with when I want to belt, and it just gives me a bit more power behind the note, a bit more of an attack. So it helps with certain songs that require that kind of belt and that kind of attack. So I thought I'd get the decks out and make it a bit fun. But most importantly, just have fun, get singing, keep smiling, and yeah, let's give it a go. It doesn't have to sound perfect, it doesn't have to sound good at this point. It's just about working out our vocals. All right, so. Right, so let's do it on a R. Gonna really open up, use lots of air. The air should flow through the scale, but then burst through the staccato notes. Really burst through on those two staccato notes. Still with me? You shouldn't strain, you shouldn't feel uncomfortable at any point. Keep going. Still with me? Keep it going. Smile, open up. Ooh, it's low. Yeah. Baritones, if you're still with me, keep it going. Stay strong. Ooh, that's low. Who's still with me? Yes. Well done, awesome. So yeah, the idea is I'm going to be sharing a bunch of exercises like this. So if you found this useful or you know anybody that may find it useful, then share it with them, comment, like. I will be doing one-to-one vocal lessons via Skype for those that want to take it to the next level and really focus on their voice. So yeah, get in touch. But stay safe, people. Keep singing, keep smiling, and keep sharing. Thank you.
Wowza! I bet you are all singing like Whitney Houston by now. So, do you like games, Grace?
Yeah.
Good.
I do.
What kind of games? Do you like love games? Playing your love games.
I like.
Is that how that song goes?
Do you love me? Are you playing your love games with me? I just want to know what to do because I need your love and like. Oh, come on now. Yeah.
No, I'm not playing love games with you.
Okay.
I'm playing video games with you.
Amazing.
And do you know who else we're playing it with?
Who?
Tristabytes. Take it away, Tristabytes.
Hey guys, Bex from Tristabytes here, and I'd like to introduce you to another game you might want to be playing right now, which will make you feel like you are outside in a wonderful magical world, and that game is Tanglewood. Relive some of your 16-bit memories, but with a brand new game developed by Matt Phillips, part of Big Evil Corp. He spent years learning how to code Mega Drive games on an original dev kit. The game was released in 2018. It's available on PC, Mac and Linux, as well as an actual Mega Drive cartridge as well. It's an absolutely beautiful game that will have you thinking back to games like Aladdin and Lion King, with its beautiful animation, gorgeous, cute fox-like character called Nim, power-ups, and a wonderful area to explore. You will also be chased a lot by some giant beasties. The game is suitable for all ages and includes some platforming and a little bit of puzzling as well. It's an absolutely beautiful, dreamlike world, and Matt has put so much care and attention into creating this game. It is wonderfully beautiful, and I highly, highly recommend it. So check out Tanglewood. You can get it over on Steam and other digital download sources. You can also buy it straight from Big Evil Corp if you would like an actual Mega Drive cartridge of this wonderful game. Take care guys, and I'll see you all soon.
Welcome to Synthetic Soul Solutions Limited. Congratulations on your new position as Beats Consultant, helping our subscribers find the perfect beats for any occasion. All you have to do is select the track number according to my directions. Here's your first client now, Bobby Brown. Let's get that party started.
Welcome back to Code Video Breakdown. I'm Ice-T.
And I'm Coco.
And next up on the show we have film reviews.
Yes!
We're not doing it this time, which is good, cool.
Lucky
We've got
you.
an awesome person all the way from Los Angeles.
LA.
Who is it?
You can find him on Instagram, @AdamGeorge, and he is
Adam George?
Juan Adam George.
Not Juan Adam
Juan.
George.
Unos.
Oh, Uno Adam
Uno.
George. Well, don't type that in, you
No,
won't find
Juan
it.
Adam.
Juan.
Adam George.
He's called Adam George,
Adam
okay?
George. Adam George.
What does he
jeez.
do?
He does all the things. He's a writer, he's a director, he's an actor, he's just an awesome guy.
He's a polymath.
He's a polymath. You can find him writing at the moment for NCIS.
A Renaissance man.
You can find him writing for NCIS LA at the moment, and he's just also written for a film called Canal Street.
A multi-film instrumentalist.
Yes, he's written for a film called Canal Street on video on demand right now, and he's part of Broken Crate Entertainment. Here he is.
Yeah, here he is. He's going to tell you about films. They're not like new films that you have to go into a cinema for.
No.
Pointless that'd be. They're
They wouldn't let you
films
in.
you
No
might
one
have
knows.
missed.
Might
Goodies
miss
you might have
them.
missed.
Yeah, take
So-
it away.
But don't take it. Come back.
How's it going, everybody? This one Adam George, reaching out from sunny California, good old US of A. Saw a couple films, thought we might talk about them. I don't know. They're available on streaming. This I know for a fact is on Disney Plus. I assume this is on streaming. I didn't check, but I'm sure it's there somewhere. Netflix, Amazon, whatever. Let's go on to this first. Let's do this. Hercules, starring Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, also starring Ian McShane, as well as John Hurt, Rufus Sewell, Ingrid Bolsold-Berdal, a bunch of people, Joseph Fiennes, directed by Brett Ratner. I don't know how many people feel about Brett Ratner. I'm not really a Brett Ratner fan myself, but you know, this is an amazing movie. So everybody has their ups and their downs, I guess. This is a story about Hercules in the sense where we don't really know if he is the son of Zeus. He is just a man who's really strong. These guys below, these are his friends, this is his crew, his posse. They establish it in the sense where when Hercules was actually taking care of his, his trials, there's one of them right there, that he wasn't doing it alone or with the power of the gods to help him. He had his friends helping to create the legend of Hercules, and they can move on into more of a mercenary kind of a lifestyle because, he was betrayed, blacked out, his family was slaughtered. I mean, pick up a book, man. Pick up a book, mythology, Hercules is the story. This is after kind of that, sort of, more or less. But it tells us a very interesting take. And Dwayne did a really great job. And I mean, Ian McShane is amazing in everything he's in. So I highly recommend, if you haven't seen it yet, this is a fun movie. This is not, this is not fucking film festival, art house. This is a fun movie. It's a fun movie with some good action, some good adventure, some good performances. It's an interesting new take, fresh take on the idea of Hercules. And yeah, I don't know, I support it. I think it's pretty dope. Personally, I just watched it with the wife like 2 nights ago. We had a good time. So, bam. We also have a little bit of Tron Legacy. So, I don't know if you're a fan of the original Tron film that came out in the 80s. This is the sequel to it. You have Finn. What is this dude's name? Sorry, I'm cheating, guys. I got my computer on. Anyway, you got your boy, Kevin Finn, right? Jeff Bridges from the original. His son, played by Garrett Hedlund. And Olivia Wilde is also in this. Bruce Boxleitner returns to play Alan Brady, aka also Tron. Joseph Kosinski made this. Joseph Kosinski also made Oblivion, which is an amazing Tom Cruise film. Amazing science fiction, slow burn sci-fi. This is not slow burn sci-fi. This is hardcore. There's action. It kind of doesn't stop once it starts, which is dope. Which is dope for this. Which is also kind of the antithesis to what the original Tron was. The original Tron was kind of slow. It honestly, if you didn't see it when you were a kid in the 80s, don't see it now. You don't really need to see Tron Legacy. The original Tron doesn't really hold up that well, in my opinion. You can put side by side the graphics and the CG and visualizations of Tron against this, and this is gonna make you really not want to watch that. Anyway, this is a good story. It's about father and son, family reunited, and there's a lot of emotion, there's a lot of heart in that. So in this crazy sci-fi world that we're in, with amazing set design and awesome, no effects and lighting and just costumes and just fantastic, it's a good story. It's a good father and son story. Where in the sense where Kevin, Jeff Bridges, disappeared. So no one knows where he's been since the original movie happened, essentially. And he's grown up without a dad this whole time. and he didn't know what happened to him, and he just kind of happenstance finds him because he's tricked into going into the digital world, going onto the grid where all this adventure takes place at. And it's very touching, very heartwarming, you know. Also written by Edward Kissis and Adam Horowitz, who you might know from shows Lost and Once Upon a Time. And I believe they're both working with Steven Spielberg on the Amazing Stories reboot, if that happens, if the world doesn't end. So, anyway, there you have it. Check it out. Tron Legacy, Hercules, good times, good films. Don't go see them with your friends unless your friends live with you, because we're physical distancing, people. Physical distancing. Do like a Zoom party or something. I don't know. Anyway, that's the end of that. Catch you next time.
Thanks, Adam George. That was awesome. So that's about the end of the show. We've got one last bit before we go. But before we go, I want to say thank you to everybody who provided all the content. It's been a great show as usual, and we couldn't do it without you.
No.
So thank you, everybody. Thanks to everybody who's been sharing this, the previous episode. Please share this one about, and also, yeah, thanks for watching. You know, it wouldn't be much point in doing this if you weren't watching. So thank you very much. It's been really nice to have such a reach. We've got so much great feedback from everybody as well. So thanks for that. It helps us keep going, you know. So
and I would like to say thank you to you, Lee.
So to finish off the show, what have we got?
We've got... I can't believe we managed to get this guy. It's so good. So good. So excited. We've got Nick Breakspear, Oxford musician.
Legend.
From
the Black Hats.
Shamfer. Everywhere. He's been everywhere. He's
currently still with the Black Hats, though. So you know, it's just you're just going to see him on his own, because obviously they can't get together because, you know, they smell too bad to be all put in one room together. That's the problem, really.
Yeah, that's the issue.
So
Nicky B, take it away.
So, awesome guy. Check out his band Black Hats online. Look at all look at all his songs. Look at his songs, mate. They're good.
And if you like this, you can book him for a guitar lesson.
You can.
Yeah.
More on that maybe to follow.
Take it away.
Thanks very much. Take it away, Nick. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
We make a stand and we make a start. She said, cold hands, warm hearts. When we get it wrong, we get it wrong. Gonna find a way to make it right. Make it right. Because if you wanna run away and you don't wanna be yourself, you're living in a lonely space, and you're just like everybody else. All we ever wanted was here. In this the only space. All we ever wanted was here. In this the only space. Isn't that just true, man? With puffed out chests, they are worthless at best. And I get along with all the weight and all the time. Gonna make it mine, because if you wanna run away, 'cause you don't wanna be yourself, well, you're held up in a lonely space, and you're just like everybody else. All we ever wanted was here. In this the only space. All we ever wanted was here. In this the only space. Wanted, you're wanted. In this the only space. Wanted, you're wanted. In this the only space. the only space. The only space. All we ever wanted, all we ever wanted was here. In this the only space. All we ever wanted, all we ever wanted was here. In this the only space. All we ever wanted, all we ever wanted was here. In this the only space. Thank you.